Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome into the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Jacob Milham over here using a candle to draw the Disney Channel wand logo here. Jeremy, can you save people and remind them this is a baseball podcast? Can you take the wheel?
Is this a baseball podcast?
Yes,
It is?
at least so I'm told.
All right. Well, I guess baseball. I did see we had a comment. The Spotify creators page is not working, so it's really hard to see the comments on there right now.
Yes.
But I've been trying to make a point since it's not working of going to our latest episode, and we had a comment, someone saying that the team is so bad that we spent our entire podcast talking about the uniforms around the league rather than the team. I'm going to pull it up again real quick.
Not wrong, but
My response was, yeah, we talked about that, but we also talked about the Royals, I think, some. And I wish I could promise you that we're not going to talk about uniforms anymore, but we definitely are, because we saw the Kansas City Royals City Connects in action over the weekend.
That we did. So we got a good look at that new fresh feel from the Kansas City Royals. Unfortunately, it was not a fresh feel when it comes to the win-loss column. What were you saying, Jeremy?
They won 2 out of 3 with those uniforms. That's pretty good.
They did, but holy smokes. Those two were a slog. They fighting tooth and nail.
That was Quentin Smith, by the way, posted that comment. Thank you, Quentin.
Yes, thank you very much.
Also, Quentin leads by saying that we're their go-to Royals podcast. So thank you, Quentin, for making us your go-to Royals podcast. That really does mean a lot to us.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone who follows and subscribes and tunes in for every single episode. Y'all's support means a lot. But I just need to remind you guys that a good way to support us and to support the greater team is checking out the work over at royalsreview.com. We're going to be talking about some pieces that came out or are coming out on the .com. So if you want to read those in full, get a different perspective, or sound off in the comments, you could do that up at royalsreview.com. Since we're talking about comments here, Jeremy, I do want to bring up one from YouTube from Daniel saying, y'all should turn the camera on so we can see y'all.
No one needs to see this.
I don't know. My mustache takes up half of the dang screen right now. Okay, I don't know if you're gonna see much.
I've got a face made for radio.
That's what I was told too.
Also, y'all don't know what kinds of I'm over here blowing my nose every 30 seconds. Y'all don't need to see all this. I mean, come on now.
Maybe one day, but I will say not today, Daniel. Not today. Thank you for listening.
My focus is not good enough for an hour-long video podcast.
And I don't know how much that quote unquote matters anymore, right? But then I go and I will watch a podcast, right? And there's one of the 4 people is always moving around or leaves for a little bit. And it is very distracting.
Oh yeah,
I will say.
For sure. When I have a video podcast such as Kaufman Corner, which we reference on here fairly regularly, they do a video podcast. I like to watch it, and it helps keep me focused as a viewer or listener. But like you said, if you're doing a podcast and there's people getting up, moving around, doing all kinds of weird stuff, it is very distracting at that point. And you wouldn't want to take away from the podcast with our inability to sit still.
Absolutely not.
What was I talking about again?
We were talking about baseball, believe it or not.
Baseball.
All right. So
there's no ADHD in baseball.
I'm sure there's plenty of it that we just don't hear about.
They're not allowed to take. They're not allowed to take the ADHD meds. They're all on the banned substances list because it's basically speed / greenies.
Nah.
Remember Miguel Tejada?
No, I don't remember that.
He got suspended. I think it was after he played for the Royals, but he got suspended for his ADHD meds.
Really?
He didn't have them cleared. Yeah.
Jesus. That's frustrating. All right. So before we get into the weekend series, 4 games against the visiting Chicago White Sox, I think that this is a good point to get a temperature check from the two of us when it comes to the Kansas City Royals. And the way I want to start this off with is this. MLB.com's newest power rankings came out on Monday morning. We're recording this on Monday afternoon. Royals don't have a game today. So by the time you're listening to this, the Royals are going to be kicking off a 3-game set against the Detroit Tigers on the road. Oof. Royals are coming in at first in these power rankings, dropping from a previous rank of 17. And their only blurb that they have about the Royals reads as follows: Bobby Witt Jr. has stolen 8 bases so far, but thanks to the Royals' lineup struggles around him, it's not really helping all that much. He has somewhat surprisingly scored only 1 run this season. Jeremy, we're going to be talking about this a little bit later on with an article on royalsreview.com, but I feel like this isn't like a minute concern from national media. This is something that Royals fans are echoing right now, especially after this series split against the White Sox.
Yeah, let me just, I saw a social media post that I wanted to call out. Let me find this real quick, because I think this is very important for this discussion. Oh, here it is. They're hitting 124, 15 for 121 with 3 extra base hits during their 4-game losing streak, and are 1 for 23 with runners in scoring position, including 2 losses against the NL's worst pitching staff so far. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, that's the Brewers.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's probably the sentence at the top that I skipped there that said, "What happened to Pat Murphy's woodpeckers?" I probably would have given that away, which is why I skipped it. You all are wise to my tricks, I'm sure. But yeah,
The
the
Brewers come
Royals
in
are
at number
struggling with
4 on
runners in
those
scoring
power
position.
rankings.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The Brewers come in at 4 on those power rankings, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, and sure, the Royals are struggling with runners in scoring position. There's no arguing that. But they're not the only ones. Lots of teams are struggling early in the season. It's cold, it's wet, things are weird. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you it's not a concern. We're now 10% of the way into the season. Of course it's a concern. There's still 10% of the way into the season, means there's still 90% of the season left to play.
Yeah,
And the
I think
Royals,
that's a good way to look at it.
the this is it's so Jacob, it's so hard when you have early season struggles to feel like your team is going to be good, because it's the only sample you've got. If the Royals had a random stretch if the Royals started off the year 20-10, and then they had a random stretch in June where they went 7-9, which is their current record, 7-9, then everyone would go, it happens, life goes on. But because it's the beginning of the season, 7-9, oh no, they're not
Yeah.
winning games. And I'll remind you that they've played 2 teams that aren't in first place in their division.
Still.
Actually, no, they've played 1, because Minnesota is now tied with Cleveland for first place in the division.
Yeah, who had that on their bingo card, huh?
And that's the one of the series the Royals have won is against the Twins, who I'm telling you, they're not good. The Twins are bad. So that record's going to fall down. But the Royals, Atlanta leading their division 10-6, Cleveland leading the division 9-7, Minnesota leading the division 9-7. Actually, Milwaukee is 8-7, a game behind the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is something I have quasi predicted.
Yeah, that you did.
I did predict them for a playoff spot. I don't think they'll win the division, but yeah, so I guess all but 2 series are against division leading teams. This has not been easy. Also, we talked about this before the podcast started. The records in baseball right now range from the Dodgers at 11-4 to 4 teams at 6-10. Everybody is very close together. The
Yes.
Rockies are still looking around going, is there a chance we don't suck? That we're that we buy okay? And no, of course not. But it's early in the season. We don't know. Like the Milwaukee's 8-7. Chicago has huge playoff aspirations. They're 7-8. The Mets are 7-9. The Blue Jays are 6-9. There are lots of teams. Those Mariners and Astros, who I think everyone thinks one of those 2 teams is going to win that West Division, 7-9, 6-10.
Yeah.
It's early. And it's so hard to feel positive, but it's early, and baseball is we talk about this all the time. It is a marathon, not a sprint.
It is.
They've
That
completed
is.
the first 10th of the sprint, not even the first quarter, the first 10th. We got to for our own blood pressure, Jacob. We have got to calm down a little bit. I'm sorry, I know that was a little bit of a unhinged monologue, but I need to calm down too.
No, because I want to preface this by saying I think there's a lot of two-sidedness on the Royals discussion right now, right? We're not hearing a lot in the middle. It's either hold the line or erase the line. Like that's it. Those are the only 2 camps that we're hearing right now. We're not, and Matthew Lamar, I would say, has a take that is more redraw the line rather than erase it or hold it. It is, okay, I would love the Royals to have a strong start to the season. I would love the Royals to be doing what the Atlanta Braves are doing, and they're 10-6 right now, right? I would love to see that. And at the end of the day, though, since they're not doing that, I can still say, all right, well, they're close to 500. I still have postseason expectations for this team. They just got a little bit more ground to make up. And thankfully, they're at a point where they can make up that ground, right?
It's not like they have a lot of ground to make up. They are 2 games behind the best record in the American League. No one is better than 9-7 in the entire American League.
Correct.
You win 2 games in Detroit, which is doable. They don't even have to face Tarek Skubal on this trip, Jacob, and other teams lose 2, and you have the best record in the AL, and then everyone looks at Kansas City and goes, "You guys are screaming about how bad your team is? What are you doing?"
Well, meanwhile, we got the New York Yankees who are somehow on a 5-loss or a 5-game losing streak right now, and we're only 16 games into it.
Can I just say, Jacob, I'm gonna throw a Molotov cocktail at this for a second.
All right.
Aaron Boone is a bad manager.
Yeah. Yep. That he
People
is.
think Matt
No ifs, ands,
Quatrero's
or
a bad
buts.
manager. Aaron Boone is a bad manager. People want Matt Quatrero to be more like Aaron Boone. Look at the talent that Aaron Boone has, and look at what his team does year
Yeah.
after year. If the Yankees had Matt Quatrero running that team, they would be the back-to-back World Series champions. I'm just saying.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take
I
right there.
like I said, it's a Molotov cocktail. I wrote an article just a little while ago that I don't know if it's going live today, tomorrow, sometime later this week. That is basically another defense of Matt Quatrero, because I feel like people are still attacking him, and I just see a really, really smart manager who takes into consideration the roster and the people involved, because the people being involved is hugely important when you're managing people.
Yeah.
It's one of the
Yeah.
things I see businesses screwing up over and over again as they race to AI, is they wanna manage machines, not people, but you gotta manage people because people are what you got.
So speaking of managing people, let's talk about one of the people that Max Scherzer loves to manage, loves to have in his arsenal, and that's reliever John Schreiber. Some call him Johnny Leverage. Like that was a nickname I've seen for him every now and then, and that is because while he's been in Kansas City under Q has deployed him in several high, like mid-high leverage options. Often the one coming out in save situations, but to get to that save situation, oftentimes that runs through John Schreiber pitching in the 7th, 8th, or maybe even the 6th. But he has not been great this season. He does have one save to his name, thankfully, but a 6 ERA. He's a 2 whip is not very, very good at all. Only 3 strikeouts in 6 innings. Meanwhile, he's given up, he's walked 6 batters in that same span. And he was a part of that, losing effort against the White Sox on Sunday to close out the series, where he gave up 1 earned run and walked a batter and hit another batter and had a wild pitch. So while you talk about managing people, I understand that Q wants to go back to, because he's a known commodity, right?
Mhm.
You know what you're getting out of him, but what you knew you could get out of him in 2025, you're not getting out of him right now. That's not what we're seeing from John Schreiber. So are you managing the people if you keep putting him out there? Or is that just hope not changing anything and hoping for different results? Is that insanity from Q?
So here's the difference between Matt Quatrero and Mike Matheny in my mind, who's the previous Royals manager known for sticking with his veterans through thick and thin. Matt Quatrero I want to go through game by game with John Schreiber for a second, just so
Okay.
I can try
Yeah,
and
let's
get
hear
us
it.
into the mindset. So we enter the season. John Schreiber is a veteran who's pitched well. Let's be clear, he's pitched well in leverage. Not great, but he's also been one of the Royals' best 3 relievers ever since he came here until this year. So you have to keep that in mind, is even when he wasn't pitching well, he was still one of the better relievers they had. So he was the guy they had to go to. So first of all, you enter the season, you have other options, but John Schreiber's been your guy, and you want to be loyal to your guy. Loyalty is important. It is not the only thing. And that's where I think Mike Matheny would get in trouble, is to him, loyalty was the only thing. So John Schreiber, first game he pitches is in Atlanta. He gives up a run in what was ultimately a win anyway. Then he pitches a scoreless inning against Minnesota. Then he pitches it gives up another run against Minnesota where he walks two, and that was a game they had already lost by the time he came in. Then he pitches a scoreless inning, albeit with two walks against Milwaukee. Then he pitches he goes to Cleveland, blows that game. I think he
Yeah.
have the blown save in that one? He had the loss. He gave up the
I
run.
sorry, keep going. I'm looking.
And then he gets a game against the White Sox, close game. Was that the close one? That was the loss. In the first loss to the White Sox, he gave up no runs, got 2/3 of an inning, got him out of a jam to keep him in it. Didn't matter. And then yesterday, he gave up the lead in a tie game with another walk and a wild pitch hit batter, all that stuff. So we talked about Estevez completely falling apart in that Atlanta game was the best thing that could happen to the Royals because they lost. Sure, they lost the game, but it meant, okay, Q turned around and immediately said, listen, he's going to have to take some low leverage opportunities for a while. The problem with John Schreiber is up until this week, he's done enough.
Yeah.
He hasn't given up runs that hurt you. Well, then against Cleveland, he gave up a run that cost you the game. Against the White Sox, he gave up a run that cost you the game. He's now walked 6 in 6 innings and only struck out 3. He's given up a home run. He's got a couple hit by pitch. His ERA is 6. His expected ERA is 5.81. His FIP is 7.81. He has been bad. So the difference between Mike Matheny and Matt Quatraro, now that I've kind of outlined the situation as best that I can, is Mike Matheny would look at that and go, well, he always did it for us before. He'll figure it out. He'll do it for us again. And honestly, I think Ned Yost would do this a little bit too. Not as bad as Mike Matheny, but more than Matt Quatraro. Yeah, I just got to stick with my guy. Now, Matt Quatraro said he was going to stick with his guy after the April 7th loss. Because, hey, even the best closers blow games sometimes. Mariano Rivera did not have a 100% save rate. But then you look at the overall numbers. He blows another game. He has 1 shutdown and 3 meltdowns. I prefer that stat to holds and saves. He's just been bad. And on top of being bad, the Royals do have better options. They have Nick Mears. They have Daniel Lynch, who's looked really good outside of the rain game. They have Alex Lang, who has not looked great, but has looked better than John Schreiber. They have Matt Strahm. They have Lucas Erceg. So you've got 5 or 6 guys. And Eli Morgan, I almost said Eli Marrero, and I was like, that's wrong. Eli Morgan's looked really good when he's pitched. So you've got 6 or 7 guys that look better than John Schreiber right now. You show your loyalty, you let him try to pitch through it, but at some point, and I think that point is now, and I think that's not just now for us, I think it's now for Q, you gotta just put the other guys in there because there's loyalty, but to maintain morale, you have to show loyalty to your veterans, but you also have to be willing to let people who are doing well step up. You have to promote. This is just like any manager's job, right? You got to show loyalty to your guys so that people think that it makes sense to stick around here because they treat us well when we stick around. But then when you do well, you got to get a promotion. If you don't do both of those things, you lose people, you lose morale, you lose all that stuff. Quatraro has done both of those things in the past. We saw it with Will Smith. We saw it with Hunter Renfroe. We saw it with MJ Melendez. He showed loyalty as long as he could. As soon as he had a better option and they'd done it a couple of times, he moved on.
Yeah.
I think, so I 100% believe that John Schreiber has seen his last high leverage inning, at least for a while. Now, if he pitches really well in low leverage, he could get back into high leverage later. But I think that if you were to go up to Quatraro and ask him right now, and he was 100% honest with you, which it's, again, managing people, it's not smart to be like, yeah, Shribes has sucked. I can't have him out there. But if he could be 100% honest with you, he would tell you, yeah, it's not working. I'm going to have to use him in lower leverage situations for a while. Just like he said with Carlos Estevez.
Yeah. That's a good context to put it in. Now here's a few finer points I want to toss at you and the listeners, Jeremy, when it comes to Schreiber. So we all hear about the importance of getting, that first strike, getting that ball in the zone when you first face a batter. So far this season, we have seen that in spades when it comes to John Schreiber. I pulled up his splits and this is how it looks. So after a 1-0 count, when he faces batters. Now it's only 14 plate appearances, but the guy has, a few dozen plate appearances this entire season so far. After a 1-0 count, batters have a 1.381 OPS against him. That is not good. That is not good from a pitching perspective. After an 0-1 count, that goes all the way down to 654. Now, is that shutdown? No, but that is much better than the opposite, than the inverse, if you will. And something that probably isn't getting talked about enough that I'm sure Royals pitching coaching is looking at is Schreiber does not have good feel for his sweeper right now. That was his primary lateral pitch last year. It's not a slider. He's got the sinker, the four seam, the cutter. Those are just different fastballs. What's his breaking option? It's the sweeper, and it can break a ton. It really can. We've seen that, and I'm looking at his game by game, and something shifted after April 2nd. He had an April 2nd outing where he was throwing a ton of sweepers. But since then, it's been two or three. And to even put some more on that, he threw a sweeper a lot against the White Sox, but also one of those pitches was where he hit a batter. That was hit by pitch. And then also on the other end in the other batter's box is one of the farthest pitches that we've seen in baseball this year. He just doesn't have good feel for that offering, and I think that is allowing opposing batters to tee up on him a little bit more. So I'm looking out at this out from outside of a context of leverage, low leverage, yada yada yada. I'm looking at this. Okay, why is he struggling? And I'm
Mhm.
sure there's a mental aspect of it. But if his arsenal is that different, maybe there's something physically. Maybe there's a physical issue. Maybe something just doesn't quite feel right to start off the season. And we're also at a point where Royals relief corps has already been kind of tacked when it comes to injury. If I'm sure Schreiber being a competitor, he wouldn't want to be the next one to go down saying, hey, my thumb doesn't feel right. Well, you got to go to the IL for 15 days and leave us even more shorthanded. You know what I mean?
I mean, they have Mason Black in the minor leagues, so if they have to put him on the IL, they have that. They also could recall Cruz or Avila.
They could.
They put him on the injured list because the 15-day limit on a demotion doesn't apply if you have an injury. I was curious. I pulled up his TJ stats while you were talking about the sweeper, and what's interesting to me is that his pitches are roughly the same quality, but he is throwing a lot more changeups. He threw 21 changeups all last year. He has already thrown 11 this year, which is not a lot of changeup, but it's a small sample size. And that's again half of his in a tenth of his games. He's thrown half the changeups he threw last year already. That's a lot.
Yeah.
5 times as many, if my math is right. He's throwing a sweeper less often. So basically, he's replaced his sweeper with his changeups. He has not gotten. He's thrown 5 changeups in the zone, 6 out. No one has even offered at any of the 6 out of the zone. 0% chase rate.
Getting any chase, man.
Anytime they swing at the changeup, and I don't see here how many times he's gotten a swing at it, they haven't missed it. 100% contact rate, no 0% whiff rate on the changeup. And an ex-Wobacon, so an expected weighted on base average on contact of 521 on the changeup.
Jeez.
They are so the changeup, he's using his changeup more, his sweeper less. His sweeper is his best pitch, one of his better pitches, always has been. He's using his changeup more instead, and his changeup is getting absolutely crushed. Now, his changeup last year, in the limited opportunities he used it, was actually very effective, but I think part of that is how rarely he used it. And using
Yeah.
it more appears to be costing him this year. He only threw 4.8% of his changeup, so I guess that's one changeup in the strike zone last year
Phew.
out of the 21 he threw. Um, that's wild. But he got him to chase half the time, and they missed half the time when they swung. So it worked, and it's he's got an 11.9% chase rate or a whiff rate this year, Jacob. That
That's
is
terrible.
unsustainably bad. Either
Yeah.
either he's okay. So there's three scenarios here. He's hurt. He's completely lost his ability to get pit hitters off of his pitches. Maybe he's tipping. I don't know. Nobody's shown me anything that says he's tipping. Or he's 32 years old and relievers have a limited shelf life and he's hit it. I think that there's still something to be said for veteran John Schreiber in low leverage innings, but you give him a few shots at that, and if he doesn't get better there, I think he's a cut candidate, which sucks.
Ooh. Yeah.
But I don't want to call for somebody's job, but you cannot succeed in modern baseball with an 11.9% whiff rate. I'm gonna let you talk for a minute, and I'm gonna see who what the lowest whiff rates in baseball are right now.
Well, you would have a pretty short list behind him. According to Baseball Savant, he is ranking in the second percentile.
Okay, so not many people behind him in whiff rate there. Yeah, good job. That's yeah, that's you can't succeed like that. And
Yeah,
maybe he needs to get right. Maybe everything will be fine once he rebalances. But even once he rebalances, this is the thing: is that talent wise, he probably shouldn't be in low leverage for the or high leverage for the Royals anymore. Anyway, Nick Mears has outclassed him. I think Lynch has. I think Lang is at least as good as he is. I think
I agree.
Morgan's better, and of course, we already count Strom and Urseg ahead of him, and Estevez when he comes back, if he comes back and looks like at least the Estevez of last year.
Which hopefully he does. Hopefully he
Yeah.
does.
So I don't know what the future is for John Schreiber. It's not in high leverage.
No. Two other notes that I want to talk about or data markers, if you will, that I want to talk about on Schreiber before we move on. First off, his arm angle, which is something that we do see fluctuate from pitch to pitch minorly, but usually it's about the same. Schreiber, he averaged a 12-degree arm angle, one of the lowest in baseball last year. Right now, it's at an 8-degree, which more mirrors his 2024 arm angle, but that's a big departure from year over year, especially as we're early on. Last part, his spin rate is down nearly across the board. So that
I
maybe
I
something in
noticed
the
his.
hand.
I was just looking at his sweeper spin rates drastically down,
Yes, it's very much down.
and that is probably why he's throwing it less. It's never been a pitch that got a ton of chaser whiffs, but I mean, it got 24.5% chase rate last year. It's getting 5.9% this year.
Correct.
No one's swinging at. I mean, he's getting a 25.7% chase rate. 6.5 last year was already too low, and he was throwing it in the strike zone he was getting his pitches in the strike zone pretty often. He's missing the strike zone a lot more this year too. I wanted to be more about like why is Matt Quatrero sticking with him and why I don't think he's going to continue sticking with him. But looking at this, I'm even more convinced because Matt Quatrero knows these numbers. If we know these numbers, he knows these numbers.
Absolutely.
And he's not stupid, no matter what people seem to think. John Schreiber's going to get a reduced role. And you could say, well, John Schreiber should have been pitching in those high leverage innings even before. And I'd say, great. Who are you going to replace him with? They didn't have anyone before. They do now. So he will make the change now.
I certainly hope so. And there's about what's the grace period here, Jeremy, right? Because we talk on this podcast a lot about moves that should or shouldn't be made, and I feel like we have a good hit rate on moves that should be made. Well, they do eventually get made.
Mhm.
This is one I think that is so apparent and impactful enough that I don't think there should be a long grace period for Q to make this change here. I think it should be like 4 games
One
max.
of the things, I think it's 0 games. I think the change is happening. One of the things I like to look for is off days.
Okay.
Today, as we're recording this, is an off day. An off day is a great time to sit down, evaluate. You don't got to get ready for a game, so let's sit down, look at these numbers, and make sure that everything matches up with what I think it does. Rethink our strategies and come in with a fresh plan. I think John Schreiber's out of high leverage now. I think it's
Okay.
already happened. I think Quatrero has already called John and said, "John, I'm gonna put you in some. You're gonna be low leverage, Johnny, at least for a while.
Yeah, that's
Um,
okay.
and we're not cutting you. We're not. They can't demote him. He's hit his 5-year service time, just barely. He did not have it at the beginning of the year, so they cannot demote him. His options no longer apply. But yeah, we're not cutting you. We still believe in you, but for the good of the team, we got to let some other guys take these high leverage innings for now."
There you go.
And I think that's already happened. Now, the more interesting question to me is what's the grace period on the lineup? Because to me, the lineup should change in Tuesday night's game, but also they're facing a really tough lefty in Framber Valdez. So it's like the guys who should be promoted above Vinny and Salvi, some combination of Carter Jensen, Jack Caglione, and Isaac Collins. And you could sit here and yell at me and tell me Isaac Collins and Jack Caglione haven't been good, but they've both been better than Vinny and Salvi.
Correct. That they have. We're going to talk about the lineup in a little bit about.
Sorry,
Oh, you're good. You're good.
I'm ready to go, Jacob. Let's roll.
Well, I gotta take us to a quick break here, Jeremy. Coming up on the other side, folks, we're gonna be talking about Matthew Lamar's latest on RoyalsReview.com, looking at, is it the time for a significant Royals lineup shakeup? Stay tuned.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
And we're back here on the Royals Rundown podcast. I am Jacob Milham, the party pooper when it comes to derailing the Jeremy Akias Greco baseball train.
Only one of us is ever allowed to remember that we need an ad break at a time.
And I think like one of us just flips a coin and we decide, okay, well, it's got to be me this go around.
I've never flipped a coin in my life. I don't know what you're talking about.
We never flipped a coin? What?
So
oh, sorry. Pennies don't exist anymore.
What's that?
I said, sorry, pennies don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
That's right.
Gosh, flipping a penny sucks anyway.
It
Quarter's
does.
the only coin to flip.
Worst coin to flip is a dime.
Yeah, because it's the lightest and the smallest, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't even find it. You flip it and you're like, where did it go?
Ching!
So the lineup. The guys who should be moving up ahead of Salvi and Vinny are some combination of Carter Jensen, Jack Caglione, and Isaac Collins. You can argue with me. I'm going to ignore you. So just know that. But again, they're facing a tough lefty on Tuesday. So that's hard. Can you move those guys? He does have reverse splits, oddly. Framber Valdez does. Lefties hit him better. And he got crushed by lefties in his last outing. So I don't know. I think Vinny gets moved down in the order. Probably.
Yeah, I think
you'll see Isaac Collins and not Isaac Collins. I think you'll see Lane Thomas and Starling Marte batting in the middle of the order.
Okay. Wow.
Which, no one's excited about those guys either, but that's what they're here for, is to hit the lefties. And until you've got somebody else who's going to hit the lefties, you got to keep giving them this is where people are going to, when the lineup comes out and they see Lane Thomas and Starling Marte in it, they're going to go, why are you doing this to me? They suck. And the answer is because we don't have any other options right now. That's always the answer. When you don't like Q's move, he didn't have another choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost, and not always, but most of the time.
So
so I think that's what we'll see there, and then we'll see the new versus righty lineup against Jack Flaherty on Wednesday, which I do think Carter Jensen certainly will be moved up in the order. I don't know if Jack and Isaac will be, and I don't know how the order gets reorganized because you don't want to go Jensen Pasquantino. I think you probably want to split Pasquantino and Perez somehow. So maybe you go. Maybe, and this is still a bad lineup, but maybe what you do is you go Carter, Salvi, Collins, Vinny.
Maybe.
I don't know. Matt's got some ideas. Do you want to talk about Matt's lineup ideas?
Yeah, I do want to frame this conversation with one tweet from Royals Review. So make sure you follow them if you want to stay abreast of all these things, because this puts it in good perspective. The rest of the Royals lineup, 1 hole, 2 hole, and then 5 through 8 hole, have all been around league average. They're, anywhere from 10th to 19th when it comes to OPS. The 9 hole, thanks to Kyle Isbell and his hot start, 5th in OPS. Who'd have thunk? But the 3 and the 4 hole have been absolute black holes for the Royals. 30th and 29th in the league when it comes to the OPS. That is it's not sustainable. And, Matt does bring up Salvador Perez specifically here, that he is a OBP sinkhole, I think is the way he puts it. He just hasn't found a way to keep the lineup going for the past couple of years. He had a really good 24 when it came to the walk rate, right? But 25, all those, that it looks like the outlier. Doesn't look like it's replicable from the Venezuelan. But here is what Matt thinks a lineup could look against lefties. Let's look at that first, since we're going to face Valdez on Tuesday. It goes Garcia, Collins, Witt, Jensen, Perez, Caglione, Marte, India, and Thomas.
Man, that's tough.
It is.
Because on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. My biggest problem is the 2-3 spots. Collins 2, Witt 3.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to move Witt down in the order. I think that's crazy. You can't do that. But does Isaac Collins make any sense in the 3 spots?
No, not really.
I mean, if he gets on base, and I think he's been getting on base. Let me check his numbers real quick. Then he gets on base in front of Witt, and Witt can drive him in. 27 OBP. Yeah, he's fine. He's not tearing the cover off the ball, but he's fine with the OBP. He's got an 89 WRC plus, which is, again, not good, but you can work with that. Honestly, I think, and this is probably unhinged, I think I would go with Carter Collins is how I would do that. And let Collins be your cleanup hitter. And I know that's not the traditional cleanup hitter, but we live in a post-traditional world. The cleanup hitter doesn't have to be a home run guy anymore. Collins can hit you a double. He can. I
Can.
mean, he's got more home runs than Vinny, Bobby, and Jack combined. So yeah, that's how I would do it. But I mean, it's Matt's idea for a lineup is better than what we've had probably.
And that's what it all boils down to, right? We're talking about managing people and how Q needs to change things after seeing an extended sample size from Schreiber. Well, we've gotten a pretty good sample size of this lineup, and the 3 and the 4 hole, the guys batting there have been a problem. They
Yeah.
have been. That's why even against lefties, Lane Thomas is in the 9 hole, right?
Yeah.
He got a couple of starts higher up in the lineup against lefties, and he didn't produce.
Yeah. But he's still a better choice than Isbell
Right.
against a
Right.
lefty.
That's why he's in there, period, is what I'm trying. But like, he got bumped down because of that. He's not, I'm not going to advocate for him to be the 3 hole guy.
Right. And so real quick before I go on that rant, let's talk about the versus righty lineup then.
Okay. So the versus righty lineup. So everyone at home, I hope you're listening. So we got Garcia.
Yeah.
Jensen, Witt.
Yeah.
Caglione.
Okay.
Perez.
Yeah.
Pasquantino.
Yeah.
Collins.
Yeah.
Massey.
Yeah.
Isbell.
Let me look at this. I think, and I don't think this happens, but I would swap this around where I would do Collins bats 5th and Salvi bats 7th.
I don't disagree with that.
It's hard to do that, to move your captain down to batting 7th, but I think if there's a captain you can do that with, it's Sal.
I would hope so.
Sal's the guy who said, when they were talking about trading him at the 23 deadline, he's the guy who said, will it make the team better? He didn't say, will you send me somewhere where I want to be, or I want out, or I don't want to compete? He said, do whatever you got to do to make the team better. And so if you tell Sal, you batting 7th is what's best for the team, I think he'd do it.
I think you would.
He batted 8th for Team Venezuela, only played in half the games, and he was still, 100% on board with that whole thing. So I know it's kind of sacrilegious, but that's what I would do, I think. And in the versus righty, I think it makes a little bit more sense to move Bobby to that 3 hole, because I do think it makes sense to have Jack in the 4 spot against the righty, and you don't want Carter and Jack batting back to back. That's just begging for lefty relievers to come in and smash them. If you At least this way, you bring in the lefty reliever and he's got to face Bobby Witt Jr. in the middle, and it's like, okay, well, that's risk. I mean, it makes you think about it. You probably still do it, but it really makes you think.
There's a lot more risk in that. But I mean, holy smokes, right now, like that 4-5-6, that is a boomer bust 4-5-6, and Caglione, Perez, Pasquantino.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I want to move Sal's down some. Sal's OBP is barely above the Mendoza line, which is supposed to be for batting average, not OBP. I love Sal. I want to believe that he's going to get hot here. But until he does, he's got to bat lower in the lineup, and I really don't want him and Vinny going back to back, because that's basically a guaranteed inning over until they figure themselves out.
Yeah, just for everyone's reference, the league average OBP right now is 318. So Perez being down that low
100
is
points
bad.
below that.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Last year, when Vinny was slow to start the year, that was when Salvi was at his hottest. One of his hottest months was April. And so that kept things kind of moving. The fact that neither of them are hitting right now is just destroying the lineup. And maybe you can sneak by if you just swap Carter Jensen and Vinny. And that might be what we end up seeing, honestly. And it will seem like a half measure, and it will be a half measure. But you got to make compromises when you're dealing with people sometimes. So I don't know. I would make a strong case for, listen, Isaac Collins has a good OBP. Carter is hitting the crap out of the ball. Jack Caglione, for all the everyone wants to poop on him still. He's got a good OBP, I think. Let me pull up his numbers and confirm that for myself real quick. 315, so he's league average OBP.
So that's fine. I'll take that.
It's better than 217. And I still believe that, oh, wow, his strikeout rate's gone way up, but his walk rate is the same. I could have sworn his walk rate was up. His swinging strike rate is down.
Hey, that's something.
And he's hitting fewer ground balls. He's going to figure this out. I believe it 100% all day, every day. He's going to get it. I don't care what you tell me. I believe in Jack. You'll never make me stop believing in Jack. Man, did you see that double to the opposite field he hit? I think it was Saturday.
Yeah.
Just hit the tar out of the ball, took the ball, went with it. That's a beautiful swing, baby.
It was. It really, really was.
But yeah. So again, I don't know what the lineup's going to look like. We've got a bunch of ideas. It's a little bit harder with the lineup than it is with the bullpen, because when you look at the bullpen, you're like, well, obviously Nick Mears and obviously Eli Morgan, right? But when you look at the lineup, you're like, well, Carter probably, maybe Isaac, maybe Caglione. You don't have any obvious answers there, and that makes it harder, which isn't to say that you don't do it, because, for example, when I was writing this article, I went back to 24. In opening day, MJ Melendez bats 5th, Hunter Renfroe bats 6th. They didn't have any obvious choices to bat higher than them, but you had maybes and Nelson Velasquez and Michael Massey, and you saw them creep up the order. As, like, starting in the first week, Hunter Renfroe was batting 8th. By the end of April, Melendez was batting 7th. So, we're at that period where guys are going to have to move down in the order, and Q's going to make these changes. I believe it. And, he'll continue. If he takes the half measures and that's still not enough, he'll do more. He's not going to say, well, that's all I could do, throw up his hands and say, it's not my fault. They'll hit eventually, probably. Don't worry about it. He'll keep tweaking. One of the biggest complaints I remember about him from his first year was that he used like 150 different lineups over the course of the season.
That was one of the biggest issues.
He was trying to find something that would work. He didn't have to do that as much the last 2 years because he was able to more easily find things that would work. But he will make those changes.
Yeah. And, I think this is a good time to segue off of this, because this all comes down to they need to make a change. We can all recognize that as a fan base. Now, I'm sure that the coaching staff and the dugout, everyone in that dugout knows something needs to change the results on the field. Now, how can they communicate what needs to change and when? That's where more of the minutia, that's where more of the data comes in. And I really hope that something is said that needs to be said. Speaking of not batting success, I will say, the Royals did have 2 prospects earn their League Player of the Year award, so I want to shout them out and congratulate them. Don Rave going 9 for 19 with 3 doubles, 2 home runs, 47 slug, and 2 stolen bases. He won International League Player of the Week. No, don't you even put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Remote Jack. Call up John.
Nope.
It'll be great.
Wrong answer. Oh yeah, that'll go over. That'll go over really well. I'm sure more people would be more excited to see a guy by the name of Carson Rockefort, who got Texas League Player of the Week honors, going 8 for 22 with 3 doubles, a triple, 3 home runs for a perfect 1,000 slug with 9 runs. And I had to double check this because this is 6 walks in that span as well in 1 week. So that is good stuff from one of the top outfield prospects in Carson Rockefort. And I guess good stuff from John Rave too.
Rockefort, tasty.
You really love the potential of Carson Rockefort.
Listen, I fall in love with prospects. I know you shouldn't. Prospects will break your heart.
They will.
But I'm in love with Carson Rockefort.
All right, if you say so.
Hey,
what do you say we take our last break? We'll talk a little bit about the uniforms and we'll get on to reviews, huh?
All right.
All right. We'll be back in 1 second, folks. Stay tuned.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
And we're back here on the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. All right, Jeremy, so you led off the episode talking a little bit. You know, we did talk a lot about the uniforms last episode. That's okay. But the Royals were national headline news for good or for bad reasons, depending on your opinion of the new City Connect uniforms. I'm still torn on them, man. And I really am. They look better in person. They look better on the TV, I should say. I haven't seen them in person. They look better on the TV. I still like the old ones better. And
all right, we know your taste is bad.
Yeah, I guess so. You know, but you want the black and blues back of all things. So
that's because I have good taste.
Oh my gosh, Jeremy. What do you think about the new kits?
I fell in love with them once I saw them on the field.
Really?
Those white on white promo photos were not doing them any favors. They look so much more colorful when they're not washed out by the lighting and the backdrop. I love the gradient. I'm always a sucker for a gradient. I love the pink to purple to blue. I think it's gorgeous. I love the hats. I love the helmets. I love the variety of the merch. It's not just like they've got some blocks, they've got some gradients, they've got all kinds of different things. So if you're like, well, I like those colors, but I don't like the way they're arranged, they've probably got merch that arranges it differently for you. I'm the biggest disappointment of the weekend for me was that the Royals didn't win on Sunday, because then they might have been tempted to stick with the City Connects at home for a while.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're 3-0 and we're wearing them. Maybe we should just keep wearing them. Kind of like the Red Sox did a few years ago with their yellow City Connects. I am honest. I still won't buy a City Connect uniform, mostly because they don't have any in my size. I did look at a Jack Caglione jersey, City Connect jersey, but they don't go up high enough. Come on, MLB. You got fans of all sizes. Get your act together.
Yeah.
Come on. I also looked at the bomber jackets. Oh, those bomber jackets are sweet, baby.
They look pretty nice. I ain't gonna lie.
I am very glad they don't have that in my size, because then I might have to spend $200. The
stand
bomber
out from the
jackets are
crowd.
the clear winner, though. Out of all of the City Connect merch, I think the bomber jackets are the best. But yeah, I can't afford that, especially if it won't go on me. So
not in this economy.
So I thought about it, and I'm like, they probably don't have my size, but I'm going to go look. And if it's something that I think is kind of close, like maybe if I just wear it unbuttoned, I'll be okay, then I might buy it. And if I don't like it, I'll give it to my dad.
That's good.
And then I saw the price. And then I said, nope, can't do that.
Nope.
Also, I'm not convinced my dad would wear a pink jacket, no matter how awesome it looked. Also, can I just say, people keep saying it's the uniforms are bisexual colors, the bisexual flag colors. They're
those
the
lesbian
trans
colors?
flag colors.
The trans flag colors?
They're,
oh man.
Trans flag has the white in it too, okay? These are pink, blue, and white. And then there's blue where the pink and blue, there's purple where the pink and blue mix. These are trans flag. These are not bi flag. These are trans flag, okay? We love our trans kings.
Good representation there from the Royals.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Texas
Can you
Rangers.
imagine if the Rangers had gotten that color scheme?
That would have been bad. That would have been a bad look from that. There are aspects of it. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to change subjects. Go ahead.
Oh, I do want to note that there are aspects of it that really grew on me, like the numbers on the back. I love those. I think those are awesome.
Sick, actually. Yeah.
And the R on the chest really did grow on me.
And the heart patch.
Yeah, I like the heart patch too. That's true. Well, what were we gonna change the subject to?
I was gonna say, we haven't addressed the stadium stuff, even though almost everyone else has, and we're planning to talk about it more once things are more concrete. But I did just want to say that that's why we haven't talked about it. Is we're tired of the stadium stuff, and we want to wait till things. It seems like things are gonna kind of move rapidly from here, finally.
Hopefully.
And so once once we know a little bit more, we're going to talk about it more.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because that's kind of where I just want to be at. Like, the individual updates aren't bringing any value
I
to
was
me.
doing huge stadiums updates constantly 2 years ago. And I put in a lot of legwork to get information about all this stuff, and it just ended up not meaning anything. So I'm like, I don't wanna deal with this anymore until I know it means something.
Precisely. All right, what do you say we get to some reviews, Jeremy?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I got a quick food one for you. So, Honey completely disagrees with me on this, and she is completely wrong. I will say, I say that as she is within
Sure.
earshot of me. So if I disappear suddenly, you know why.
Yeah.
Um,
You get things thrown at you in the best of times. People want video podcasts. They're gonna see how much abuse you take.
for everyone's awareness, there are 3 other adults who live in the house. So if the podcast is running long and they're waiting on dinner, I'll have stuff thrown at me from off screen. But anywho's, Honey thinks that the normal Reese's like mini cups are better than the Reese's eggs, and she is dead wrong. The
She is. She
Reese's
is wrong about
eggs
that one.
are peak Reese's candy.
Everyone knows this.
Yes.
Everyone knows this.
It's apparent to me, but not to her. I don't know what to tell you, man.
That
That's
is
I like them. I like 'em. Easter just passed, so we had a bunch in like a fridge drawer that we keep them cold. I prefer cold Reese's over
yeah,
like room temp.
yeah.
So I got my good fill of them this season. But Reese's
Should've
eggs,
bought
if you
some of
find
those.
them, buy them.
I stocked up on the Cadbury mini eggs this year instead of the Reese's
Gotcha.
eggs. Not the cream-filled eggs, the mini eggs, which are just chocolate with, like, a candy shell.
Yeah,
Love those. Best chocolate as far as I'm concerned.
hell yeah.
My review today is I'm gonna cheat a little bit, Jacob, and I'm gonna say the
Gonna
Royals
cheat on
social
me?
media team,
Oh, okay.
they're it. All right,
They
so I
are.
know this is Royals related, and usually we try to do something not Royals related for these, but listen, I've been busy, okay? And the Royals social media team is killing it out here. I found out the other day, I think this was last week when Jake Eisenberg pointed it out. I think it was Monday. No, it must have been Sunday. Yeah, it was Sunday because the Royals wore their road blues at home Sunday against the Brewers because the players like the road blues. And Jake Eisenberg pointed out, he said he retweeted or reposted because this was on Blue Sky, reposted the Royals lineup social media image and said, as pictured below, the Royals will be wearing their road blues today. And I looked at the picture and it was of Chris Bukovich and he was in home whites. I'm like, what the heck? And I'm staring at this thing and I'm staring at it. And I'm like, up there in the top header section is a little inset image of the uniform that they're going to be wearing that night. And it's there for all the lineups. They've been doing
Okay.
this and I haven't even been noticing it. So if you're ever like, well, I wonder what uniform the Royals are going to wear tonight. You look at the lineup graphic that they post on social media and you'll be able to tell. There's a little inset image at the top of it. And of course, they do the awesome jokes and puns and things. They post the videos very quickly when the Royals do something impressive on social media. They're one of the few teams with a Blue Sky presence. They joined TikTok. I don't know when they joined TikTok, but I finally started seeing their videos this spring. They've got some great videos. I just saw one the other day that was from spring training, but I hadn't seen it until now. Where they were asking all the Royals players as they came out of the clubhouse, who would you call? Which teammate would you call to get your tire changed if you had a flat tire? And almost everyone said Kyle Isbell, which that checks out. My
Yeah.
favorite though was Cole Reagan's and someone else, I forget who, came out together and were answering the question together. And they looked at each other and were like, "Do you know how to change a tire?" And then each of them went, "Yeah, I know how to change a tire." And they're like, "Well, I'd call him," and pointed at the other one. And there's just lots of opportunities to have some good fun with the guys. And so their social media team it's really top notch. And again, it's the on-field product is not always what we want it to be from the Royals, but we are really spoiled as Royals fans with the internet opportunities. I talked about this with Craig when I had him on the podcast last week about the blogosphere of Royals that's so talented.
Yeah.
And there's multiple like really good Royals podcasts too. I mean, there's ours obviously, which is clearly the best. There's some other really good ones too. And then all the bloggers, but also and then the social media team. Keep this thing fun, okay? We're having a good time out here, and we're all able to feel a sense of community even at a distance. like me and Jacob are with some of the work that's being put in by these groups. But specifically today, talking about Royals social media keeps.
I love it. Thank you for shouting them out, Jeremy. Yeah, I've seen some of those replies, and they put up with a lot from from
social media is a very thankless job, and I
is.
appreciate all the hard work they're doing. I want to hope they're listening, and I hope they feel the love, because that's all I got for them is love.
Hell yeah. An excellent note to end today's episode on. Thank you all so much for listening to today's edition of the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. All that fun, the information, the good vibes that Jeremy's talking about on social media, you can find some doses of that from Royals Review on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Facebook. Or you can follow us on our respective social medias. Our links are down in the podcast description below. But if you want some more of that community that Jeremy's talking about, you can find that in the comment community at royalsreview.com. You can also feed the feed over there with your own takes on the Kansas City Royals.
You just say that to drive me nuts. I know
do.
that's the only reason you say that. If it didn't bother me, you wouldn't ever mention the feed again.
I don't think I would. Alrighty, folks, we're going to get on out of here. We appreciate your support as always. Follow and subscribe wherever you're listening at. And until next time, go Royals.
Carson Rockefort.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.